ask Nicholas Redman and the others, please keep your flags aloft so I can try to take you down. But in the meantime, Nick Redman, if you could ask you a question.
Thank you, John. It's a question for Deputy Prime Minister Ivanov. Sir, thank you very much for a learned and erudite presentation. I have a question about the partnership with Japan to which you alluded. Earlier this year, President Medvedev did what no Russian or Soviet leader had done in 60 years previously by visiting the Southern Kurils. This was in response to Japanese politicians reiterating their very well-founded, well-established, well-known view that those islands belong to Japan. Russian politicians had equally insisted that Russian ownership is not in dispute. Subsequent to that, there have been reports in the press that Russia is considering a military buildup in those islands. I wonder, could you tell us, please, whether those reports are correct? If so, what was the thinking behind it? And generally, whether or not these reports are the case, how does this decision, which, or at least from this seat, would appear to be an escalation of the dispute, fits in with Russia's announced plans to modernize, with a particular accent there on FDI from the most technologically advanced states, of which Japan is clearly one? Thank you.
First of all, as far as we're concerned, there is no territorial dispute. It stems from the results of from the World War II, and it's different interpretation of Russia and Japan on the results of this war, whereas, as far as I understand, the rest of the world recognize them as they are. First of all, I've been to Southern Kuril Islands for 3 or 4 times already. And I was surprised when I was there last month, there was such a negative reaction in Japan. Why didn't you react negatively before? When I was there in 2007, 2009, there was total silence. I was the father, and it was my idea to start a civilian program of making the quality of life of 20,000 Russians who live on those 4 islands better and better. We need to construct modern airports, ports, roads, social, economic environment like schools, housing, everything. And since I started the program, I regularly attend those islands to look how this program is being implemented. We allocated 16 billion rubles for that program, and it will be finished in a couple of years. So I can promise I will visit those islands again. Next, Nick asked about military enlargement. I can assure you there will be no military enlargement there, at least not in numbers. But as it was stated yesterday by the speakers, including the Defense Secretary of China, we are modernizing our army, meaning that we change weapon systems, which are not offensive, but they're clearly defensive. So there's nothing to worry about. And finally, regardless of what you call a problem, we have quite good relations with Japan in economic cooperation and even in military cooperation. When I visited Japan as a defense secretary, we signed a memorandum, and after that we have a lot of joint bilateral military exercises of both our navies and air force. We're neighbors, we understand this. And our military-to-military relations are totally transparent.